Hi, my name is Austin Wheeler, and today I'll be covering GardenView for the capstone project. First, I just want to say congratulations to everyone for finally making it to graduation. We've worked hard to get here, and to feel the feeling of finally being done and accomplishing what we set out to do in the first place is a pretty amazing feat, and we should all be very proud of that. So GardenView was an idea I had last spring when I began to try and grow something in my backyard. The idea of attaching it to a fence post or something came to mind when my son and I were sitting out back one day watching a squirrel make his way across our garden fence. I thought, wouldn't it be cool to be able to catch a glimpse of what the stages were of our garden, what it went through during the season, and also maybe get some animals along the way, like some birds or some squirrels that visited. I began to research this early on during the capstone class and found very useful a Raspberry Pi that I had laying around for a couple years. These things are highly diverse and they're fairly easy to use. You can use them for many different things, and there's many tutorials and guides online that people have already used to put forth some of the ideas that I kind of grasped and clinged onto when I was working my way through this. So for this project, I try to combine the knowledge gained in this course, not particularly this one, but the overall degree course that I chose, and tried to apply that technology to something that me and my kids and my family could enjoy and use throughout the house, and also gives me a way to kind of get out of what I usually do as far as IT stuff, and gives me the ability to kind of expand my knowledge, see if I like programming and all that kind of stuff. So, although I didn't get it attached to a squirrel feeder, I kind of made a makeshift camera thing out of a Tupperware, kind of like what you see here. I did make a makeshift one, not the one that I intended to use. I ran into some problems with getting power and really getting the thing to sit in there the way I wanted it to. So one thing I did have trouble with was the heat capability that these things can hold with something clear casing like this. So kind of made a little makeshift shelter thing and kind of put it in. Basically, I built what you see here in the picture and then put it inside of a bird feeder that was already there. So that way it kind of looks a little better and matches what was going on in the garden. So what I used was a Raspberry Pi night vision camera. It's a 5 megapixel infrared camera module with IR LEDs, waterproof plastic food container, Tupperware because it's going to be outside most of the day, and a little tripod to set it up on so it doesn't sit so low to the ground that most of the wood from the thing that it was sitting inside of doesn't take up half the frame. So I house these components along with a Raspberry Pi 1 module A+, which I found to work pretty good in this application. It has Wi-Fi capability, so that helped later on, as you'll see. In a waterproof plastic food container, which I obtained from Dillon's, or where I think it was Walmart maybe, but Dillon's. This ensured that the electronics inside were protected from bad weather. I drilled a hole for the camera lenses and placed blue tack around the hole once fitted to prevent water ingress. I also made an adapter which allows the box to be mounted on a tripod, although this probably isn't really necessary since it's fairly easy to position the box without this. I made this with a sheet of aluminum that fit into the bottom of the box which I glued using epoxy, a nut with the appropriate thread for a standard tripod. I drilled a hole in the aluminum sheet under the nut and in the bottom of the box to allow the tripod thread to enter. I had originally intended to power the device using a large rechargeable power pack that I had laying around. I just figured it'd be easy to be able to pull the batteries out and bring it inside and charge it up with the USB or whatever. But this was able to power the Pi A+ and the Wi-Fi dongle just fine for about a day. However, I found that the IR LEDs on the camera module were particularly power hungry, and the battery would only last about 4 to 5 hours with those plugged in. So I decided to allow the device to be powered from the mains if required. So I made a small hole in the lip of the box near the plastic seal to allow a USB cable to enter. So if you had like an additional battery pack or something, you could plug the USB into a different battery pack if you wanted to do multiple days, instead of just getting the 4 to 5 hours with just a battery pack plugged in. I then ran this into the mains adapter, placed an appropriate water resistant location, because when it does rain, you don't want that kind of stuff exposed to water. After setting up the software, and I'll go over the software I used later, I placed the device in a suitable position at the end of my garden where I had seen animals in the past. I mean, my garden's not very big. It's only like 12 feet by 12 feet probably. So I just put it on one of the fence posts basically. I then powered up the device and made sure the camera was focused. I also put down some squirrel food and a dish of water, and try to get something in there, but I ended up not getting a picture of one. And drawing any wandering animals, I then stated or installed Pi Tamalo. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. It's basically a program that allows you to like capture video on a Raspberry Pi. It's kind of like a proprietary Raspberry Pi piece of software, and let it run. And I got a picture later on to show you kind of what the stills look like. Continuing on to how it works, in order to get the operating system on a Raspberry Pi, I had to use a micro SD card. On top of the SD card, I put Raspbian, which is the proprietary Raspberry Pi operating system. It enables you to do a lot of stuff, and they have pretty good built-in features like Raspberry Config to do. It's basically Linux based, so Raspberry Config is a way to pull down software on it. Pi Tamalo software is Pi time lapse, motion detect, low light piece of software that you can put on the Raspberry Pi. It installs just like anything else, not very hard to use. It's an excellent, very configurable program which allows you to take pictures automatically when motion is detected and or at regular intervals. And then I also used a VNC server. I found that the preview version of Real VNC server for Raspberry Pi to be very useful in setting up the system, since it allows you to connect in and view the live camera image. You can do this by running a ras pi vid command, and I'll show you that in the next slide. This allowed me to connect to the device from a tablet and focus the camera, so I could kind of look at it from my phone really. This is shown in the following screenshot. Really it's at the end. Well, the screenshot in the next slide kind of just shows you a little bit of the code and the command line to use the Real VNC server software with Pi Tamalo. We'll go ahead and go to that. So this sudo command is what I use to get to the camera from the Raspberry Pi operating system. I'm using the ras pi vid command to show a live preview from the camera. Sudo ras pi vid t-0-rot180-f. Basically, the T0 option means to show the preview indefinitely, so you use Control-C to stop it when done. Basically, it lets you take a still image, which I have in the next slide. Only one application can access the camera at one time, so you must stop the Raspbivid before running Pi Tamalo, and vice versa. So if you want to take a capture from your tablet, you can't be running the motion detection software on the Raspberry Pi at the same time, basically is what that means. Note that I used the -ROT 180 to rotate the image, since I actually mounted the camera upside down due to cable orientation, so that was an accident on my part, so a learning lesson there. If you're going to put something together, make sure you put it together right. I found the FFmpeg very useful for converting series of time-lapse or motion detection images into a single video file. There's an example of a command line that I used to do that. I placed the device in a suitable position at the end of my garden where I'd seen animals in the past, and like I said, it's not very big, so it's basically just in a corner. I then powered up the device and made sure the camera was focused. I also put down some stuff to try to get anything, but once again I couldn't get anything, so we'll keep trying though. Overall, this is a picture of kind of what it looks like when it's finished. You see the fence on the back, but we got a little fence on the front to kind of keep the dogs out of it. But having built something like this was an extremely useful and fun hobby because it kind of got me out of what I usually do and taught me to piece a bunch of things together that I learned. And it also gives me a way to engage my kids with this kind of stuff. My son really loves the outdoors, and to be able to show him how to grow stuff and teach him about animals. We can pick up birds and squirrels now and this kind of thing, kind of go over what they are and what they do. So being able to use technology to bridge that gap sometimes helps, and I think for me it was really cool and useful. So to see this idea come to life and to see the excitement on my kid's face when we first captured this picture, saying, you know, Daddy built this, and it's pretty cool that he can take it to preschool and do it like a little show and tell thing. So once again, I'm thankful for all the opportunities Fort Hays has given me in preparing for the next chapter in my life. And once again, I want to congratulate everyone and thank everyone in the course, and I wish everyone best of luck in the future. Thank you very much.